So what we have up next is we have Allison Hensley Sexauer here, from coordinator of the Rogue Valley Food System Network, and a dear friend. And Allison, thanks so much for being here and for making time for us. We wanted to really bring in the voice of the food system because we've been talking all around about food waste. We've looked at where some of the food waste is occurring within the food system. We looked at different grocers and their impacts on food waste. But we really want to hear from the coordinator of the Food System Network. And so we're so glad that you're here, Allison. So let's give Allison a warm Zoom welcome. Welcome, Allison. We're excited to learn from you.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's really great to be here. And I just want to share a little thing about this. The To Go program is really remarkable to be able to do that during COVID times. In a previous career, I produced festivals and I implemented zero waste food courts all through California. So a very similar program where you have a token, you get to put your food on a plate, and it's a $2 buy-in. And in the state of California, we were shut down because there's a one-line code in the health code that says temporary food facilities can only use single-use serviceware. And then we had like years of having to go through all the policy to get that changed before we could do it again. So sometimes they're really strict. Some health departments are really strict. So I just it is so remarkable and very cool. And I'm definitely going to help put the word and other restaurants and grocers' ears that is the way to go. And if we can do it, that's huge. I am curious, and if I can see all your faces again, how many of you have heard about the Rogue Valley Food System Network before? I know 3 of you I get emails for. Okay, so great. So I'm speaking to folks who have heard about it, which is great. Maybe you'll learn something new and we'll get to know each other a little bit better. So I am the coordinator for the Rogue Valley Food System Network. And basically that means I just do all of the tasks to bring the people together to do the work that we do in the community. Our work is growing the local food system. Okay, I have another question, actually, since there's so few of us. How many of you are familiar with this concept of a food system? So it can get pretty complex and intricate when we talk about a food system, but really it's the sum of all the activities required to make food available to the people. So everything from the seed back again to the soil. So that includes the production, and that's the seeds, the soils, the farming and the ranching, then moving on to the processing, which is cleaning, cutting, bagging, wrapping. Often harvesting is included in processing, but sometimes people include it in production. Distribution, that includes the routes, the trucks, the companies who drive our food, depending on where your food comes from, thousands of miles or a few miles. The farmers markets, the grocery stores, that whole realm of how the food actually moves to the destination. And then the next level is consumption. That's where we eat the food or we prepare the food. That includes restaurants, cafes, home cooking, and then waste. And I keep this word waste in here, even though I'm very aware of my audience, because everybody talks about the end of the cycle being waste, but really what we're talking about is having that be the next resource, right? That goes back into the resource cycle, and that's what this work is about. So I left that in there because often you'll see food systems diagrams with waste, but we will transform that. This is one of my favorite images from an artist named Brenna Quinlan. And really it talks about a food system is a food system. So we have a global, a national, and a local community food system. And they interact in myriad ways depending on what level that you're interacting with it on a personal level. So this image is just so perfect because it really shows on the left side, I think y'all see it on the left side, what a fragile food system is. A fragile, or you could say it's an industrial food system. And that's very direct lines of distribution, large quantities. That's where you have the big corn, hay, soy growers. You have the animal producers. During this year, we saw a very real glimpse of what happens to a fragile food system in the face of a crisis. If you don't have the right size apples for this function, then you're going to throw away those apples. So there's this illusion of efficiency in the system on the left. And then on the right, we have a resilient food system where you have all these different web of connections that come from a really more localized. Anything in a resilient food system is going to be within a very short distance, hundreds of miles, maybe several hundred miles, while we still have fossil fuels. I just love this image. And the work that we do at the Rogue Valley Food System Network really is about creating a resilient food system and a sustainable food system for the Rogue Valley. So the Rogue Valley, the network vision is that the Rogue Valley is celebrated for its strong, vibrant regional food system, characterized by abundant local food production, equitable food access, environmental sustainability, economic vitality, and healthy community. So these are the different pieces that come together under a leadership and collaboration team that is the council and our partners and our network and you. And so it's our mission, the mission of who we are and what we do is we establish a collaborative community of leadership to develop and advocate for a healthy and sustainable food system. So the Rogue Valley Food System Network is really trying to bring together representation from the different aspects of a food system to sit around a table and look at some of the big issues in the Valley and how we can resolve them. We don't necessarily do programs or projects at this point. Really, we're about convening and making sure that the conversations are happening. And then there's all sorts of things that come out of to-dos and actions that come out of conversations, right? So this is just an example of some of the things that we do that have come out of those conversations. I guess let me share this real quick, a brief history. That the Rogue Valley Food System Network was really formed back in 2012 when Josephine County and Jackson County both did these large-scale community food assessments. And it was identified, there were several recommendations identified of how to move forward towards a more resilient food system. And one of those was to form a council of people, representation from the different aspects of the different sectors of a food system to come together to move forward these conversations. So the Rogue Flavor Guide, how many folks have picked up the Rogue Flavor Guide? That's a yearly publication that we continue to keep trying to grow and have be an asset and a resource for the community to find out where you can go to support local food and farmers. We have pre-COVID, we were hosting monthly public meetings on various topics of interest around the food system, and are likely to continue doing those meetings on key topics on a virtual platform in this next year. Obviously, I've been talking about the building relationship bridges. The Rogue Valley Grower Economic Assessment is an example of us partnering. We partnered with the Southern Oregon University. Sonia, you can get that at the co-op. The Rogue Flavor Guide you can pick up at the co-op. Yeah, just an example. Several years ago, we partnered with SOU and wrote a grant to be able to do a grower's assessment. That from that came a bunch of great data that people continue to use in the Valley. The community food assessments are on there, and then we do an annual. Again, we did do an annual fundraiser to bring awareness to local foods, brews, bluegrass, and barbecue. To be continued. We'll figure out how to do that in a post-COVID world. Yeah, this is the Rogue Flavor Guide. Just so that you all know, our applications are open now for the 2020 edition. So if you have a favorite business or organization who supports local growers, we do have some eligibility requirements for restaurants and cafes, obviously farmers and farm stands or nonprofit organizations. Spread the word, let folks know. One of the things that we have been growing and working on, our website is a great resource. It's rvfoodsystem.org, and I have it again on a slide at the end. And one of the things that we have on the website is a food systems mapping that has over 200, right now it has over 200 food-related businesses and organizations, and we're constantly adding. And again, if you know of a business, if you type in a business and it's not on there, please let us know. Things change from year to year, as we all know. So this is a great resource. You can type in eggs, and it'll bring up people where you can find eggs, or you could type in a co-op, or there's several. It's a pretty smart mapping, or what's the word? Search engine. So that's a great resource. One of the other things we've been up to this past year is working with a program called Feast through the Oregon Food Bank. We were allotted funding for this program. Feast stands for Food, Education, Agriculture Solutions Together. And it is funding to host meetings throughout Josephine County. We were originally planning to host meetings in 6 different locations throughout the county, really bring together local communities. We were able to have one in Williams, one in person in Williams meeting, and they're taking on a project of getting their small little farmers market out there to take EBT, which is great because Williams is one of the most food insecure towns. It's unincorporated, but towns in the Applegate Valley in our region. So little projects like that get started when we come together at the table. We just had our second online move to virtual last month, and have working groups now within Illinois Valley and Grants Pass and North County that are meeting with their own community and coming up with ideas of what they're needed. We basically did SWOT analysis. We're looking at challenges and inspirations, and things like there's a Plant a Row organization in Josephine County that encourages home gardeners to plant a row of veggies to donate to the local food bank. And so they're going to apply for some funding to help amplify that message and get more home gardeners planting rows of veggies come spring for the Josephine County Food Bank. So little projects like that. And it's been great to just get community together. And being a convening organization and not having our direct programs and projects that we are committed to doing, we're able to pivot really quickly. So when COVID hit, we put a lot of time and energy into collating all of these resources of a quickly changing food system, to be able to let the community know when and where food was available, what our farmers were doing, the CSAs, what was happening with the farmers market, access to funding, all sorts of things. So, and that's still on our website, and we're still updating that as we can. And finally, I just wanted to just honor and recognize that the Rogue Valley Food System Network is part of a greater conversation of work being done around food systems. The Oregon Community Food System Network is a collaboration of 56 food and farming related organizations in the state. And so we're a member of that organization, and we serve Jackson and Josephine County. But right now we really, and I've been working with Rihanna is on the council for the Rogue Valley Food System Network as well. And in our area, we're also working to support the work of smaller community food systems. For instance, in the Applegate Valley is looking at doing a food assessment, or the Illinois Valley looking at doing a community food assessment. And these are really, this is really incredible, because if we don't know how our neighbors are doing, how are we going to solve our state's issues? So it's one of the goals of the Rogue Valley Food System Network over the next several years would be to bring these smaller communities together to really look at solving these food issues. Of food waste is certainly one of them on a more localized level. There's some exciting work happening. I'll also share with this group that the in between is that there was just a bioregional food hub assessment, of which a meeting is happening right now. So even like on the bioregion of Southwest Oregon, there's food systems work happening. And this assessment was done in the counties of Coos, Curry, Douglas, Josephine, and Jackson, looking at our production and distribution in this smaller area to be able to fulfill the needs of the consumers and have the producers be able to make a good living, and distribution channels being more efficient. Yeah, so that work's happening too. All of this is moving towards creating a more resilient and reliable food shed that then shows up on the shelves of your local co-op or small grocery store, not necessarily the big box grocery stores or grocery stores that are owned by outside owners, but locally owned grocery stores are the ones where we can make the biggest difference. So how can you get involved? We are kind of going inward, a little bit inward for the Food System Network right now. We're going to be looking at doing some strategic planning work over the next year. Our monthly newsletter is an amazing resource. If you haven't signed up for that yet, please do. And if you have anything that you want added to that newsletter, feel free to email me, because it is a community newsletter for the community. We don't really have any certain way that we're trying to, it's pretty, how do I say it? We'll include anything that's food related and has to do with the Rogue Valley food system. And pick up a Rogue Flavor Guide. That's the other publication that we put out there. And if you find great information, or if you find a new restaurant and you go to it because of the Rogue Flavor Guide, let them know. And we can just keep letting everybody know that we're in it together. Join the council. We do have several council seats open. So if you're interested in participating in the council and representing a sector, I would be happy to talk to you about what that looks like. And that would be an application process and going through the council voting. But we are looking for more council members. And as a supporter, just an individual supporter, we've got all of our Facebook and Instagram and online presence. Email me directly if you'd like to be involved and help out in specific ways. And then, of course, eat local. We are all consumers and eaters. If we buy local foods first, it's our local producers and our neighbors who are going to be most served from that. And we haven't all heard, but I will share that I love the statistic of for every dollar spent in the community, it amplifies it by like $1.75. And that's really huge, especially after the year this community's been through. So right now on our Facebook, we actually have Facebook and Instagram. We're doing a buy local, give local. And so if you see that, if you do social media and find us on there, please feel free to share those and just amplify where people can get their local gifts and food for meals and all of that. So yeah, so here's the contact information and a list of some of the organizations that are represented on the council, and our website address is there. So I'll open it up for questions.